Commissioners, if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and start this. Are we okay? All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the briefing of the Mason County Commission for the week of September 27th, 2021. We're going to go ahead and begin with support services. Frank?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you. Deborah, good to see you. The first item we have is the scope of work for the new lobbyist contract. And for that, we have Deborah online with us. And I'll just turn it over to her to begin the conversation.
Thank you very much. I'm Deborah Munguia, and I am representing Mason County, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to do that. I am honored to do that. I know most of you know this already, but I actually grew up in Shelton and still have a lot of family in Mason County. So it's my old stomping grounds. I was a Shelton High climber. So I'm really, really excited to be working with Mason County and all of you. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, as you all know, the legislative session starts in January. It's going to be a short session. Their focus is really on the supplemental budget. They made some big policy decisions last session, and they're going to have to come back and they're going to have to make some changes to those. So there will be a focus on technical fixes to the police reform legislation. They'll also be looking at the Long-Term Care Act. I'm sure that healthcare, funding for healthcare and behavioral health and affordable housing and people without homes will continue to be a focus. We know that the legislature still has some unappropriated ARPA funds, and they've been hanging on to those, waiting to see. My understanding is that they've spent it 3 times over already. So we'll see what their priorities are for that. And I've heard that the caucuses are talking about potentially setting priorities like they did last session. The House and Senate Democrats last session, the majority party set some narrow priorities, and they're thinking about potentially doing that again. We don't know yet whether or not it's going to be a virtual session, a hybrid session. Earlier in the year, there was talks about a special session, especially for transportation. But I think that they're probably going to want to wait and see what happens at the federal level with the infrastructure package to see what we do here. I know that the House and the Senate are talking about a transportation revenue package and what they might put in there and how much money it would raise and what projects would be funded, which is something that we need to talk about, because I looked at the House and the Senate transportation proposals. The House miles ahead, the Senate forward Washington, and you have different priorities on those. One is the same and the others are different. They'll be making changes and potentially some new appropriations in the capital budget. They only have about $80 million, but I'm hearing that they're looking at some creative ways of expanding that. So maybe there will be additional money in the capital budget for appropriations. So we need to talk about what the county's priorities are for capital needs as well. And then there's the tax infrastructure work group that is having town halls. The one for your area is on October 13th. There's one in the afternoon at 2:30 and another one in the evening at 6:30. And so I know they're encouraging elected officials to just listen, but if you have constituents that are interested in what they're saying and what they're doing, they want to hear from them. And so I would encourage you to talk with your constituents and have them chime in on what their priorities are. And given that, I would love to hear what your questions are. I'd love to start working with you ASAP to talk about what the county's priorities are, and also set meetings with the delegation to talk to them about their priorities, and then how we can align those and set up a strategic plan to move forward for next session and beyond.
Commissioners, who'd like to go first?
Hey, just real quick, does Deborah have a copy of the SEDS list?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
There's a lot of projects on that list.
Just a few.
So Deborah, first off, really excited to work with you. I think it's an exciting opportunity for Mason County to, really move the needle, in particular on project funding. And our local legislators really well. They've been really supportive and effective for us. And I think my perspective, at least, and I think Commissioners Netherland and Trask would agree, is we're looking to make that next that step to the next level in terms of getting projects funded and things moving here in the county. And so really excited about getting into some discussions about prioritizing projects that are county driven, and then being able to talk with you about kind of long term. You mentioned short session. We always know what that's like in terms of getting things funded, and it's definitely a compressed timeline and all that kind of stuff. So really, looking at this as an opportunity to set ourselves up when they get back into town in 2023 and have more time and bigger budgets to work with and that kind of thing. So just really excited to have you as part of the team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, for me, thank you for doing this and welcome. I'd like to say that hopefully we're also very fluid. If you see opportunities, I like to take advantage of the opportunities when they pop up. So please keep us in the loop for opportunities that may not be in the absolute structure we're putting forward. See if we can help this county in any way we can.
Just add real quickly that if you need people to testify, just give us a call. It's nice to have a little bit advance notice, but commissioners like to talk a lot. I don't. Not saying that my other two do. Sorry, guys. But hearing the voice of a rural county, I think, is so important for the legislators to hear. Typically, they're hearing from many of the larger areas, and so if you need us, just reach out.
I appreciate that, and I will definitely do that. And I always keep my ear out, my eye out for other opportunities outside of the legislative process as well. I know that there's meetings on Friday with WASAC that I'll be attending both of those meetings, talking with them. I'm keeping an eye out for grant opportunities that the county might be interested in, or potentially setting up for those grant opportunities in the future as well. So well beyond just the legislative work, definitely want to keep my ears open and my eyes open for whatever opportunities might be there for the county, and appreciate the offer for testifying as well. I live in Olympia. My work office is almost a stone's throw, more like a golf ball drive from the Capitol. So I'll be very, very close to the Capitol, and hopefully it will be open soon for public meetings.
Deborah, just to kind of piggyback on some of that, knowing that you have a copy of the SEDS list, and you can see the different public agency sponsors are on there, and thinking more about projects that are sponsored by the county. As you take a look at that list, what have you maybe been able to glean kind of initially, or what should we be thinking about over the next couple or few weeks as we start to work with you a little bit more closely on developing a short and long-term strategy?
What I'd like to know is, what are the county's priorities on that list? And then, as you probably know, that when the legislature is taking a look at what they would like to provide state funding for, what are the priorities? What are the things that they're looking at? How does it fit within those priorities? And the state likes to be the last money in. And so how much money has gone into those projects? How much money are you asking for from the state? And then I think all of those things will help narrow down what it is that we want to go to the state and ask them for. I want to meet with the various stakeholders involved with those projects, find out what their priorities are. So it's a coordinated effort, and we're very precise in what it is that we're asking for. And then also, if it's design money or study money for something, what are the next steps beyond that, and making sure that we get that into the pipeline as well, so that we're set up for future funding of those projects.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Anything else, Sharon?
Oh, I'm good.
Well, I didn't understand what you meant, Sharon. Could you please?
It wasn't Sharon, it was my puppy,
I
sorry.
know.
I'll take it. That's hilarious.
So my follow-up on this will be to work with the board to prioritize the SEDS list and then get that back to Deborah here in the next week or so. Thank you. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you very much.
Next item we have, commissioners, is a authority to go out for an RFQ for engineering and architectural services in Mason County. We do this periodically on a 3 or maybe 5-year basis. It's just go out for what RFQ a engineering and architectural firms for what would be items to do architectural work extending on Building 10, some of the ARPA projects that we have in regards to the second floor on the Sheriff's Office, the second floor on the Prosecutor's Office, and anything else that facilities might need.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm supportive as well.
Same.
Will do. Next item is a review of the ARPA contracts. So I just wanted to get back with the board to let them know that the ARPA contracts have gone out and I've received some of them back, most specifically from PUD 1. Hood Canal Communication has gone through its final drafts. I'm still working with Jennifer on final iterations of her contract, but most of them are either out or signed at this point. I also wanted to take some time to go over the prioritization list. I gave each of you a copy of the ARPA fundings that have occurred to date. We have approved 5,117,772. Kind of semi-approved is the IT infrastructure backbone for another 136,261, coming to a total of 5,254,000 and change. That leaves $1,200,000 available out of this tranche. And I just wanted to go over some of the items that are still left on the prioritization list. Those that are able to be utilized by the county directly. In other words, there's a request to have the second floor of the prosecutor's office upgraded and made into offices and a conference room through the facilities department. There's also a request to add a second floor above the gymnasium at the sheriff's office. Those two items are identified as needing design work of about $100,000, and then the actual construction between $700,000 and $800,000 each. Below that is a request from Mason County Russellwood Publicworks for water well and reservoir improvements for $200,000. AC mainline replacement of $100,000. A Belfair pump station number 1 improvement for $150,000. Belfair pump station number 3 improvement for $180,000. And then the North Bay sewer pump replacement for $65,000. So the question I have is to the board, how do you want to proceed earmarking or identifying where to spend the $1,200,000? Now, again, this is the balance of the first tranche. In June of next year, there will be another $6,454,000 that comes in to the county for ARPA funding.
Yeah, I took a road trip with Loretta and Richard and, oh, I hope I don't get his name wrong, Kevin, with waste.
Nailed it. Not this Kevin, though.
With another Kevin.
The other Kevin.
I win for the day. That's it. I'm done. No, but man, we've got some things that definitely need to be addressed, so that we can continue to provide water treatment or waste management. Waste management or the septic sewers. What a great tour, by the way. When they come on here, I'm gonna have to thank them for taking me out there and for all the, I'm sure the silly questions that I asked, but they didn't make me sound or seem. Anyway, that's getting way off squirrel. So I would like to make sure that we talk to them and make sure that those are on our list, either in this tranche or for the next tranche, because we need to make sure that those people are taken care of out there, and that's our responsibility. So in my opinion, I would love to see those on the list for sure.
If I may, I will confirm with Loretta on these items, but these came from her.
Okay.
On whether or not there are additional ones I can follow up on.
Okay.
Frank, can
What
you-
you said,
Oh.
I'll add right away is that there is no hurry to move this money out. So take our time, do it right, and get what needs to be done. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Frank, back on when you're kind of teeing this up, you had mentioned a ballpark construction cost for the capital projects, the sheriff's office and the prosecutor's office. Was that, did you say $700,000 to $800,000 each?
Correct. And that's a very high end.
I mean,
Obviously, without engineering and architectural work, that's just a real broad stroke.
I was going to say, due respect to the prosecutor's office, I don't think that building is worth $700,000 to $800,000.
I guess that's one way of looking at it. I have
I mean, if it's truly going to come back as $700,000 to put a second floor in there or re-engineer the floor so it could hold more than just, storage.
Yeah.
I think we might want to look at some other options. Certainly don't have the sticker shock with the sheriff's office project, given sort of the scope of that project. That seems a little bit more intensive, but I'll be really interested to see what the engineering estimates come back as, because I think if it's that cost, we should be looking at options other than that.
What was it, 4 months ago, Commissioner, we looked at a building that was up, it wasn't next to the courthouse, but it was 4 times the size.
Yeah.
$600,000.
Yeah. So, and then I guess, I'll kind of go back through. Definitely, I definitely would be supportive of the Publicworks projects on our sewer and water facilities up in the north end. I think it's rare that you get to do these projects that, where there isn't loan or other grant type requirements, whether it's through, I think we did some loans through USDA for some of the systems up there and everything. So yeah, I think this is a great opportunity to kind of make investments in those facilities without also passing costs on or anything like that to the ratepayers up there. So I'm definitely supportive of those if we're able to kind of nail down that these are the actual projects and requests and get that all confirmed. But I'd be very, very supportive of that. And then the other question I had, just a note I made for myself here. A few weeks ago when we were reviewing this, we had talked about looking at potential projects to partner with the city of Shelton on. And so there were two things about that. One, I think, Frank, you were working on getting a meeting with Jeff Knighton from the city to discuss that a little bit further. And then also, I don't believe their projects are on the SEDS list, which is kind of, which I'm not sure that these public works utility projects are on the SEDS list either, but just wanting to make sure we're trying to, kind of be consistent there, or at least understand why the city's projects aren't on there, and kind of going it that way.
I will. I will confirm with Loretta on the projects that she has to make sure that they're complete and in total. In regards to the engineering and the prosecutors and sheriff's office, both of those, the assumption is that in order to put a second floor, there would need to be considerable re-engineering to carry the load of that second floor. I agree. I don't think the prosecutor's office is going to require that, given the fact that there's archiving up there currently. On the sheriff's office floor, though, there definitely would need to be some engineering. Given that we're requesting for an RFQ on architectural and engineering work, once we receive that back, then we can talk about at least doing the architectural engineering studies on whether to put what would need to be done to put the sheriff's office second floor in and the prosecutor's office, and come up with some closer numbers. So at the minimum, we would look at asking to spend $100,000 for the engineering and architectural work on that. But we'll bring that back again as we get closer to the final decisions after the RFQ has been brought back.
And as for myself, I definitely agree with the water and sewer infrastructure projects. As Commissioner Trask had mentioned, though, we need to double check with Loretta, because I'm looking at a North Bay sewer pump replacement here, but we know we had several failures there that we need to make sure those got taken care of this time. One's right above the lake, and I'd be surprised if 65,000 fixes all that. So perhaps you can just double check and mention North Bay above Lake Anderson. Secondly, as for the buildings, Commissioner Schutte brought up an excellent point, and I'm actually embarrassed that I didn't see that myself first as a realtor, to not realize that $750,000 would pay for a heck of a lot of building in this community in this time. That I don't think that that's even realistic for us to consider numbers like that for the expansions that we're talking, the benefits that we would get with it. It just doesn't make sense. We maybe need to look at different avenues, different ideas. And again, I'm supportive of addressing the negative economic impacts that we have on our list as well.
Okay. So we'll continue bringing those forward. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just again, on the, can we kind of true up the utility arrearages that we have to? Just, Commissioner, did you say you were supportive of the negative?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So just kind of making sure where we're at on that number. Yeah, making sure people are getting connected to the other utility assistance programs that are out there too. So I'd be supportive of that, just with doing a little bit more truing up of those numbers.
I agree.
We'll follow up with Publicworks. Next item is the rescheduling of the elected official and directors meeting. Diane?
Good morning. So we're planning to reschedule the elected official director meeting to November 1st, and I enclosed a draft agenda, and I wanted to see if there's any other items to add.
Anybody?
Have you solicited the electeds, or will you do that to see if they have anything? Or I guess
I can do that.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay, I will do that.
But
And then
otherwise,
my-
looks good to me.
Otherwise, okay. And then my next item is we received the request from Port of Allen to add their main water project to the SEDS list. And I don't know if the commissioner saw this morning, we do have comments asking They're from Ken Van Buskirk and Brad Carey, asking that the board delay taking any action on this. And I wanted to let you know too, that I heard from Jennifer Baria this morning, and she does have applications to be added to the SEDS list from Belfair Water and from PUD1, which I'm just now getting those. So I'll make sure I get those briefed next week.
For
But I wanted
myself,
to-
I don't see any issue. I know what the complaints are, and we've never done anything like that when it comes to the SEDS list and what goes on the SEDS list based on those type of comments. But I would say it doesn't make sense to add it by itself. If we've got others coming, do it all with one brush, or not all. If we start doing it two piecemeal, it's going to be over exaggerated.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, it does sound like there are some other issues that definitely need to be addressed, and those are probably the Port of Allen's problem to deal with, and not Mason County's or the EDCs for that matter. But it is a little bit out of the norm for a project request to come directly to us and not go through, I think, the appropriate process, which I know Commissioner Netherland, you're on the EDC, you were part of the group that worked to kind of reform the review process and do the vetting and everything so that we can, know where to put these on the SEDS list. And so I would give, especially given Jennifer has a couple of others in the queue, maybe we can encourage the city to get a couple projects on there to make our ARPA life a little bit easier in reviewing. Maybe, there's some of these other smaller projects from Publicworks on our ARPA list that we could channel that way. I don't have any problem taking a second bite at the SEDS list apple as projects come up, but I do think this project should follow the same process as all the other ones and go through the appropriate review.
Yeah. The thing is, just so you know, on the review aspect, what that came down to, though, was just separating which ones were shovel ready and which ones were not. We did not prioritize them at all. It's not uncommon to actually have a few added over the years, but since we have other ones that, because of the situation we have with ARPA, we want people to be on the SEDS list, but we have others that want to do it at the same time. I just don't want to separate one and then have to have 10 other meetings for each one that comes in. Maybe we can set another deadline that has to be to us within a month or something.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable.
I think those are great ideas.
Are you
So
Go ahead.
the three applications we now have, just put those on hold to see if we have more from the city?
Well, I would maybe, my suggestion might be, and this is maybe again for the EDC to think about, but whatever they traditionally do for a call for projects, it might be good to just kind of open that window again. As Commissioner Netherland said, maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks, and just make sure that we, do it in a way that, it is open to people that have had projects developed over the past few months. It sounds like this port project, I don't know, looks like it's been an issue for over 20 years and apparently was missed a few times or whatever. So I don't know what the deal is there, but it certainly seems like if we're gonna go back through for a couple of projects, the most equitable thing to do might be just to open the window for a few weeks.
Commissioners, do you have any objection of me allowing, Jennifer is on, do you have any objection with me allowing her to speak at our briefing right now?
Nope, be great.
Jennifer, so what do you think of the idea of opening up for 30 days so that we can run it through you guys real quick, just to make sure that everything actually meets what we do? Yeah, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
You're not muted though.
Let's try that one. Can
There
you
you
hear me?
go. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. It's definitely, we've got another one coming in from PUD1 this morning, and I have reached out and I've talked with both the city and the port for some of those infrastructure projects. So they are definitely thinking about what can be accomplished and what can be put on. So if you want to open it up, the EDC is absolutely happy to go ahead and run that process, do it again through our committee and have that conversation again and submit another list to you guys. If that's where you feel like you should be going, we're absolutely happy to do it.
I would appreciate that. Commissioners, are we good there?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to have you guys vet them and make sure that they fit.
Okay.
Agreed.
So Jennifer, if you can put that together for us, we'd appreciate it. And if we can do it as a ASAP. And again, as a reminder, it's not that I want to do this every year. This is a
Right.
special circumstance because we have the ARPA funds. And as a commission, we've been very strong with the concept that we like to see these projects that we're going to expend money through the ARPA on the SEDS list. So,
And I think it will continue over the next years. People are actually looking at different pots of funding for infrastructure dollars now because there's been so much. So timeline wise, we'll talk about it at our board meeting on the 14th. Leave it open for a month. Is that a sufficient amount of time that you guys?
I think it's good. That actually stretches out though, because we'll be talking 2 months before we get anybody on a SEDS list. And as we're talking about putting these monies out there, there's not going to be much left though. After what we just discussed just now, there's not going to be much to work with there anyway. So this is a preparation for the next amount of money that comes through. At least that's what I'm seeing. Commissioners, what are you thinking on that?
Well, it's, yeah, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Sharon.
Oh, no, that I was just going to say, yeah, absolutely. But there's that we've got the second, I guess they call it a tranche, which is kind of silly, but second tranche coming. And so we need to, there's also other funding sources as well, through the federal government and through Publicworks Board and other areas. So I think that we can all make sure that they fit whichever pot of money is available, I guess.
And that's why we've always allowed, it's not as much of deciding which ones can get on them. It's trying to allow them the opportunity to be on them, because for some of these grants, if they're not on them, they can't get it. So, you know, if it's an emergency, it's one thing. We have put things on in the past due to emergency because they had a grant that they had to apply for and couldn't be on the SEDS list. I can only think of it happening in the last 9 years, maybe 3 times. Jennifer, is that what you remember also? It's only a few times that we've
Yeah, it hasn't been very many. I had to reach out to Diane. I was like, what did we do the last time we did this? It's got to have been at least 10 years since we've had to come directly to the county to amend the SEDS list.
No, we amended the SEDS list like 3 years ago, 4 years ago for something. I don't remember what it was for, but we amended it. Okay, but yeah, Kevin, do you have anything more to add on that, or?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I think, you know, Sharon referenced this as well. You know, the SEDS list isn't just about ARPA. It feels a lot like about ARPA right now, but, you know, there is certainly no guarantee. I mean, we're not going to fund all of the projects on the SEDS list out of ARPA. So it's about teeing this up for, you know, these organizations to go, you know, through whatever would be a traditional, you know, project request, whether that's through the capital budget or other federal funding sources and that kind of thing. So just wanted to throw that out there. I know they'll be out there trying to get funded any way they can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Frank?
Thank you, commissioners. That's all I had. There's some commissioner discussion.
Yeah, Commissioner. So just I had a conversation, and maybe Commissioner Netherland, you did as well, with Chris Tibbs from the Arc of the Peninsulas. They're seeking to get a little bit more funding into their programming through Thurston Mason Developmental Disabilities Funds. And so he asked if we would consider doing a letter of support for their packet that should be going out at the end of this month, early next. And so I will put together a draft if you're agreeable and circulate that around. But given the time constraints, if you are supportive, to have that on tomorrow's action agenda.
I am supportive, and I know what you put together will be very professional, so I would not have any issue with doing it on a quick turnaround like that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Great, thank you. I'll make sure I get it to Diane and she can circulate it.
Thank you. Frank, is there any issue with the meeting we have coming up today? With
Oh, there is a request. I may need to take a medical leave this afternoon for our meeting with the applicant. And I was wondering if either Randy, you can, or Diane can sit in with the applicant during their meetings with the electeds.
I can if need be. Diane, I think, would be a better choice than me.
The problem is staffing. We're shorthanded in the office.
Well,
So she's kind of covering.
Commissioners, I am available today because they moved the chemo, of course. So if you'd like, I'll be more than happy to do it as chair. Okay.
Yeah, I think just maybe if you do the introductions and maybe step out and let them kind of have a conversation. I don't know. I don't want to prejudge the electeds and their willingness to be candid in front of you. But maybe just try to facilitate the most open conversation between the finalists and electeds, I guess.
I will, but I'm pretty sure that none of them are afraid to tell me off.
One way or another, right?
Yeah. We'll take care of it. We'll handle it in a very hands-off manner.
Thank you, commissioners. That's all I had.
Okay. Next up, Dave Windom, Community Services. We're running a little bit late, guys.
Lydia's here.
Lydia, you're not Dave. Hi.
I'm not Dave.
Are you running the show for him today?
Yeah,
Oh, there
we're
he is. Dave.
He's
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, so Lydia's going to start us off.
Okay.
And actually, I'm going to turn it over to Abe, who's going to talk about our TST dollar support.
Good morning, Abe.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners. So we have a request in regards to our Behavioral Health Navigator program. And we are at the point where we are looking to expand and build on what we have started over the last several months. And so we are requesting up to $50,000 for the next year from TST funds, which we do have, to partner with Olympic Health and Recovery Services for a behavioral health navigator position. Some of the things that we've kind of learned is that this position would have the ability to do a bit more clinical and crisis response work. I will continue working in this program as well. So it will be myself and this other individual. It is a position that would be shared with Olympic Health and Recovery Services. So we're looking to leverage dollars. So it'll be a 0.5 FTE. It's also, so we've communicated with the leadership at the Sheriff's Office, as well as the Police Department, all the entities that are involved in this program, and everyone is on board. And actually, Under Sheriff Adams was willing to jump on this morning just in case you had any questions or needed any clarification from his standpoint. But we are looking to do this as soon as we are able. So looking for permission to put this onto the action agenda as soon as we're able.
Now, when you say that, are you talking that there's a need for it to be done tomorrow, or can you wait the normal 2 weeks?
We could wait 2 weeks. That would be fine. Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, I'm supportive of this. I have no questions. Commissioners?
I'm super excited about this. I think it's a great idea. And the things that you and the others are doing for the community are amazing. And I truly want to thank you for everything that you're doing. You're doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You guys are pretty awesome. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, absolutely supportive of this. Commissioners, you might remember back last fall, talking in our budget meetings with the undersheriff about their desire to implement a mental health position. Lydia and Abe heard that call and went to work right away with Undersheriff Adams on developing a program. And I think it's been really beneficial for the patrol deputies. I think it's been really beneficial for the community. And it's given Abe, I think, a deeper perspective and understanding of kind of where the needs are in the community from a behavioral health perspective. And really, I think goes hand in glove with what we're trying to accomplish at the BHASO with getting crisis services into the community, and what we're doing with law enforcement assisted diversion and all those programs that are just starting to kind of take hold in our community. And so just couldn't be happier to support this and appreciate the collaboration between the sheriff's office and public health. Well done.
So we are in agreement. We'll put it on our next meeting's agenda.
Okay, no big deal.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Abe.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Dave, what else you got for us?
No, really not very much, Commissioners. We have Dr. Gardner's Washington license came in last week. So at the end of this week, we'll be doing an official handoff between Dr. Gardner and Dr. Stein, and she'll move forward into October as our health officer. So we're working that. We'll just have that meeting this week and get that done. And we're a little short-handed over here at Public Health in the same way that you guys are. So I was answering phones this morning, and I'll be down there doing that again today too. So,
Dave, can I ask that for our next briefing that we have an update from the building department on our permits, what the wait times are and the lag times are on the different avenues that they're facing, please?
Sure thing.
Commissioners, anything for Dave? All right, Dave, thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
All right, next up, Public Works, Loretta Swanson, utilities and waste management included. Good morning, Loretta.
Good morning. Bear with me. Sorry, Dave went through you guys whipped right through. So that's awesome. So up today, Commissioners, we've got the presentation of our 6-year and our annual construction program and a request to put on a private line occupancy permit. And before I kick it over to Mike on the 6-year and annual, I would just like to take a real quick minute to say thanks to our engineering team, our survey, our road operations team. They really pumped out a lot of work this year on our annual construction program and put us in great position to do the same for next year. It's been a really busy year despite slowdowns in our supply chain and everything from delivery to materials and DOT approvals, but there was a lot of perseverance and a lot of keeping on point and great work.
Oh, she froze.
Loretta, you dropped off there. Mike, it sounds like she was saying how incredibly great work you guys have been doing and how you're going to get so much more done this next year because you got so much done this last year. And she wanted to say she is appreciative. What do you got?
I have the 2022 annual construction program and the 6-year tip before you. We've made some modifications based on the this year's problems with we've been having with local programs and getting things approved because they've been working from home. And so we've stretched a few things out, left a few things on that we're actually getting constructed now, but I could briefly go through the annual program and just hit some highlights on it if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Number 1 and number 2 are East Agate and Old Belfair Highway. Those are STP resurfacing paver projects. Currently, they were supposed to be done this year. Old Belfair Highway to paver, we actually have awarded just recently, and so it may get done here in October. But we're going to leave them on the annual program just the same. Mason Lake, number 3, Mason Lake Road Improvement Project. That is next year's STP project. So that starts at milepost 5.23 and goes for a mile. That will be widening shoulders and paving the shoulders up through there. This is kind of all going to tie into what we did on McEwen Prairie. We widened the shoulders, we paved them. We're going to do that on Brockdale next year. We're going to do our own county forces doing that up Mason Lake to tie into this project here. So we're going to extend that process for the shoulder widening stuff. So number 4, 5, and 6 are our gravel road proposals. That is Sunnyside Road, California, and Kelly Hall. I will note that I'm going to add Sunny Slope back onto this list because we're going to get it prepped this year, but we won't get it actually chip sealed. Kelly Hall will be one of those roads that has quite a bit of work to be done. Got to do some realignment there because of scoured because of adjacent creek. So we will be doing the work on there. I won't guarantee we'll get all the chip sealing actually on that road. So that combines to be a little over 6 miles of gravel road proposed for next year. So on down the list, number 10, that's North Shore Katy Creek culvert. That's a culvert we've had problems with a number of years. That's a RAP project. That's something we're going to do with our own county forces work next year. We've actually purchased the structure, the box culvert this year, so we'll have it sitting out here in our yard waiting for us to put it in the ground when we want to. Uncle John's Upper, number 11, is also a culvert project that we're going to contract out. We actually purchased the structure this year, and so we will put that out to bid here shortly and for next year's construction. Dayton Creek, number 13, Dayton Creek Culvert, Highland. We're actually setting that structure tomorrow. So we'll be pulling that one off of the annual program for next year. We didn't know if we were going to get it in with this rain. Isn't helping us any, but we are managing it, and we are all scheduled to set that structure tomorrow. The rest here are all extensions from last year, except for North Shore, Great Bend. That culvert project again is something that we purchased this year. We'll do with county forces next year, and that'll combine up to about $900,000+ in county forces work we're going to do. Then number 23, we were discussing this morning. That's the WashDOT County Road intersection feasibility plans. We have on there Johns Prairie, NSR3, Clifton, OBH SR 300. But we want to add North Bay, SR3, potential roundabout there, and then Lakeland Village Road and SR3. We were going to add those two to the items number 23. So that's kind of a rundown on the annual program. 6-year program, the first 23 items are exactly the same as the annual. And so it's just a continuation. The rest of the items are mostly in PE, as in doing some studies and some engineering work. I would, ask if the commissioners had any specific questions. We can go over them.
Any questions?
No, it's a comment. I think it's great.
Mr. Schutte?
Yeah, so just really appreciate seeing the projects, especially on the annual tip. I know I've heard from constituents both on California Road and Kelly Hall Road about how excited they are to see this work happening. And I think one of the best things that we've done over the past few years has been restarting the road conversion program. And I know it's probably for folks that live down these roads, felt like it's taken a long time to happen. But just a real hat tip, Mike, to you and your team and Loretta for reactivating a program. It's never easy to just you can't just flip a switch. There's a lot that has to go into it. And so it's really good to see that. That said, going forward, what's going to be the process for adding roads to the conversion list? I've heard from constituents down Bowling Road out off Coquitlam that they might be interested in having their road looked at for this down the line. Are you gonna go back through TIPCAP? Do you make those recommendations? What's kind of the process?
What we've done is some research here. We found some records where there has been some a summarized, basically a rating program for the gravel roads, and we passed that on to TIPCAP. And so in the future here, we're going to do more off of their recommendation. Plus, we still got to look at it from an engineering and an operation standpoint. How can we get it done compared to, yes, you want it done. And so, everybody's going to have their involvement in it. And in the end, we propose it to the board. And if you have any preferences or any specifics, we can we're flexible about it. So.
Great. Well, and it's also good to see the Belfair connector roads on there and moving along with those. That's just so important to the freight corridor, and talking about being able to start building some new roads for economic development there when the freight corridor comes through. That's really exciting. So great job.
Mike, a question outside of this. Appreciate all the work you've done on this one. There's a road that's not on here. I asked you to take a look at the Burma Road at the end of the North Shore there. How did that turn out?
Burma Road has you questioned, or not questioned, you were brought up to a couple meetings ago about the base being
Yes.
Exposed, and yes, the base is exposed on that road throughout. It's quite the project because of the length of it. But what I would propose is just picking a half mile or picking a mile and knocking that out, extending that out every year or every other year, or whatever process we want to do that. I mean, there's quite a bit of residents in the area. There's some really sharp corners that we'd like to try to address right-of-way wise first, and try to be able to cut some banks back, slope back, and do some improvements there. And that's what we were kind of going to look at for 2022, is to see if we can do some right-of-way purchases along that section and be able to cut those back, and then we could put a section of the road on for a conversion. But yes, that's high on the list. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most costly roads, gravel roads that we have for maintenance.
What about just getting some gravel to put over the top of it for now?
Yes, that's on the plan. It's already on the plan. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Loretta, what else?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Couple of other items, commissioners. Just a real quickie on the schedule. I think we had the action item will be in October. So we've got a little quickie correction on that. And then the other, Mike and I were talking, we just received word from Highways and Local Programs that we will be receiving some HSIP funding for safety projects. And so between now and the action item, we'll do a revision to the 6-year as well to show those HSIP funds. And Mike, maybe a quickie, and I apologize if I missed it. Maybe you already did cover it, but a quickie on what those projects involve.
Yes, I have totally dropped the ball on that one. We have recently, from local programs, got awarded some HSIP, safety enhancement money. There's 3 different projects. Basically, to split it out is, one is a guardrail retrofit of existing structures. So what we have is a lot of bridges, short span bridges out here that have no guardrail in terminals on them. So that would be adding guardrail in those locations. The other project is the horizontal curve analysis. So this is a program that we would contract out with a consultant to end up with the equipment to be able to drive all of our roads, even our 09 roads, and determine curve analysis, basically whether we need to post these roads for curves or additional signs and stuff. And so we would have it countywide, we'd have it out of one system, and it would really enhance our sign text to be able to get out there and get everything straightened out to exactly where we want to. And it gives us the data to say, okay, these curves don't meet our current standards. What do we need to do to improve them? The third project is the signpost, reflective panels. So have you seen that adjacent to state highways in cases where they actually have the reflectivity on the post itself? And so that was one of the projects, local programs that we submitted to them that they really liked because it's countywide. And so it really, at nighttime, those signs really stand out in that sense. And so it's trying to obviously reduce accidents. So we have those 3 additional projects. Those are slotted for 2023, 2022, and 25 is for construction. But we'll ramp them up and push them through as soon as we can.
Mike. And next up, the private line occupancy permit, which standard fare, unless there's any questions on that, commissioners.
Any questions, commissioners? Nope.
Hey, and that is it from our front. Commissioners.
Any questions for staff, commissioners?
I just want to thank Loretta and staff for taking me out and for the tour of the wastewater. It was a fun tour. Great staff. God, they are just amazing. Introducing me to water bears and all sorts of other little critters that live in the
what, Commissioner?
In the soup.
And also being able to take a look at some of the projects that definitely need our attention. Went on some roads to the plants themselves that could use some attention as well. Quite the quite the ride. But truly thank everybody for me. They were amazing, and I truly appreciate you guys out there. Next, let's do it. Let's do another tour. I love the opportunity to get out and see our county and appreciate the beauty that we have here, because it is absolutely stunning out there. But to be able to see the people that we have that work here and their passion for Mason County and for their jobs, it's pretty darn cool. So thank them for me, if you would.
Absolutely. And thank you, Commissioner. It's great to, be able to have your time for that length of time and hear your appreciation. I know it's tough to get out a lot of times to our remote offices, if you will, and it's time well spent in my mind. So
Well,
thank you.
It was stinking fun.
Oh, there we go. No, not stinking fun.
Commissioner Schutte, do you have anything for them?
No, not today. Thanks.
Me either. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, commissioners.
Next up is the Economic Development Council, Jennifer Baria. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Just wanted to do a quick get back in the schedule of updating you guys monthly. I know that we talk all the time about what's going on, but wanted to get back in that routine. So this is just going to be a quick update on what we're working. Feel free to jump in with any questions. I'm happy to answer them. I did get the agreement back from Frank. So the grant program will be moving forward with the ARPA funding. I'm hoping to launch that mid-October. Keep that open. The past grants that we've kept open for about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the number of applications that we've received. So hopefully we'll start to see that funding go out into the community and really kind of launch into the community in November. You'll start to really see the impacts of that. I am right now, a lot of the focus of the work that we've been doing is and has been on outreach into our local businesses. We're working with 2 different businesses right now that are actually looking at expansion projects, and we're helping them work through those timelines, what it could potentially look like with COVID restrictions, what that partnership could be. We are working with the Port of Shelton on a curb funding application to be able to do some additional site work out at their facility. As the holidays start, we're going to start doing a push to build up people's awareness of shopping local, being able to focus in on those businesses. So we're doing outreach into our local businesses throughout the county to see what they want us to push out there for them. We are also starting the conversations on the partnership for utility infrastructure as well. I know you guys are working through the county administrator side, so we've been working with Frank on getting that started so that it's an easier transition when you have the new person come on board, that they kind of understand the scope of what it is that we need to move forward. We're also, we just signed an MOU on the Economic Development District redevelopment that's happening. That was just on the EDC side of it. So next step is to bring in the public officials. We'll be reaching out to the commission and the chair to make sure that that representation is there for all of the communities that are going to be involved in that. So that's just another designation to be able to access those funding opportunities for different projects like this. They are also at a federal level actually working to reinstate the bigger SEDS process. So we'll keep you updated as that moves forward and what that ends up looking like. But we have been working on 4 different recruitment projects. We have 2 of them moving forward. We have site selectors coming in and taking a look at those. I'll keep you updated. Those 2 are manufacturers. We have 1 that we're looking at that just came in on Friday that's looking for 50 plus industrial acres. It's a forest products based business. I'll keep you updated. We're calling it Project Footprint. Keep you updated as we get more information on that. But right now we're more at the, people are definitely starting to kick the tires and seeing what's out there, seeing what's available. And we have a lot of opportunity in many areas of our community to be able to put a project of that size fairly easily in. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Our elections have opened, so you probably received the notice from that, or Diane did. So we'll start to see that process move forward. It's always fun. So that was quick. It was just a very quick update. If you got any questions?
Questions, commissioners?
I don't think you're doing a great job.
No. Nope. Thank you very much, Jennifer.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, we are on break until, well, do we want to call and try and get district court in early?
I see Patsy, but I don't see Judge Steele.
Patsy, can you unmute yourself, please? She may just have it on and not be there either. It's up to you, commissioners. You want to just wait and come back at 10:30? Wait, Patsy, hi.
This is Tanya. Patsy stepped away from her desk for a minute, but she should be back in about 10 minutes.
Is she doing the presentation for Judge Steele today, or is Judge Steele going to need to be there also?
They're both going to be there.
Is there any possibility if you can find out if they can do it early?
I think they were hoping to do, they thought they could do it around 10:30. I can see if they can do earlier than that.
We'll wait for one moment. If you can find out if they can do it early, please.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, you want to do any commissioner discussion you may have right now? Except for we have none.
I got nothing.
Well, it makes sense that they're the last one to get it out of the way if we need it, but if not, we'll find out, because we know the judge may not be able to meet with us until then.
For some reason, he might be on a bench or something somewhere.
Yeah. So on those on the sewer plants and stuff, it's pretty interesting, everything we have going on up there and what we're doing. The big pond, the little pond, you know, it's funny. It'd also be a good area for our sheriff's department if we were to find a way to handle one side of that pond for them to go out there for some of their long range practices.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah, no, you know, firearm practices, they're limited on distance on the things that places that they have to work with. If we could find a way to help them there. I know we've talked about it in the past, and again, I'm just trying to buy some time until somebody gets back to us from the courts.
Yeah, you know, I am so glad that they reached out and I was able to go and take a look at the plants. Man, they are amazing. The brains behind building all of these things, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the tanks were empty. They were fixing them, and holy cow, they are deep.
Well, for
I was like,
years,
oh, man, I don't want to fall in.
for years, we have stuff still in connexes. For years, we've been tricking it to work on much less waste than it was required when it was built.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting closer to it here with the new additions that it'll be fully functional.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure that, you know, as we move forward, because we're not going to move backwards as far as growth. And so moving forward, I think it's critical that we make sure that that all the plants are able to handle what's necessary.
You know, it's funny, when I first got elected, we brought some professionals up there and they were pretty upset, saying that you know, it was quite a waste. It wasn't built for a 20-year capacity. You could drop it in the middle of Bainbridge Island and run that for 20 years. But it's funny, as we're starting to get we're at year, what, 12, 10, right in there. We're going to start to be able to finally make it run. And then we're going to have to worry about keeping the capacity that we have. Funny how it goes up and down and the requirements of things that are needed. And then again, we need to have some discussions here shortly with Publicworks about the different things that are going to be needed at North Bay, because there's been a lot of growth out there now. And I know we have a reserve that we're trying not to touch, but I think we're going to be going into that. So we're going to have to look at a capacity increase there eventually.
Yeah. I like the chart on the bugs. I mean, I go home and I went home and it was talking to Ted about all those little bugs on that chart and their fun little names, and how some of them, their mouths, they don't have teeth or anything like that. They have rotors. And so I don't know. I like bugs.
Well, commissioners, it may not be getting back to us now. You want to just go ahead and come back at 10:30?
You don't want to talk about bugs?
I thought we did. the rotary kind. Kevin, you got anything to add to this bug conversation?
I do not. No, I'm just I'm a spectator.
Judge Steele is joining us.
Oh.
So if you don't mind, we'll go right into our briefing here shortly and just finish it out.
Well, maybe he can talk to us about bugs.
Yeah. It's funny, it's taken so long to connect. It's not just us. I wonder if it is Zoom today.
It's the rain.
Hi, Your Honor.
How are you doing?
Good. Are you guys going to be able to brief here now, or?
We chained Pro Tem Judge Greer to the bench, and he's administering cases as we speak.
Okay. Then
the chain part is not true, but it makes for a good story.
Then you are up, Your Honor.
Okay, well, we just wanted to bring to your mind that we're having some budget issues in some very specific areas. I'm going to go through those one at a time. Now, the first is our interpreter budget. There's been several things going on, but as of the end of August, we had expended 85.6% of it, which means we're on track to go out. And we've had several things happen this year. First off, and these are not costs the court has complete control over. We have an obligation to make sure that protect people's due process rights and interpreters are provided. There's very strict limitations what we can use the interpreters for and how long. So we have had to start giving them 20-minute breaks, which means that the calendars can only go in 20-minute increments before we have to take another 15 to 20-minute break. And what happened for the first half of the year is calendars were expanding well past the normal time they would, well past 4:30, and some actually going, I believe, close to 7 o'clock. And that was happening pretty much all the time. To address that, what we have had to do is expand the number of interpreter calendars we've had during the month, because we simply do not have time to complete our interpreter cases having one calendar a month as we had been doing. Spanish, we'd already been doing 2 or 3 calendars a month. But the other change that's occurred, which is kind of unusual, is for most of my judicial career, both here and municipal court, the 3 primary languages were Mom, Condoval, and Spanish, and really in that order. Had
languages being needed. We've had Hungarian, Mandarin, Cantonese, Russian, Korean. We even had some Nahuatl, which is, I believe, an indigenous language of this pre-Columbian, the Central Mexican Plateau, the Aztecs. A few of those, we've had to have two interpreters, one from English to Spanish, and then from Spanish into Nahuatl. So we've just had that, and what has happened is we've really had to spend a lot more money than we had anticipated having to spend. So that's an area right now that we're just giving you a heads up. We're going to be requesting additional monies, and I'll take a look here. I know as I said, as of August, we were down less than 85% of our budget. One other thing that's gone on, which has not going to happen before, is we've had 2 jury trials that involve use of interpreters. Those trials take much longer because interpreters always do, by nature, what they do, slow things down. And we've had to have 2 interpreters present, like, I believe both calendars were in Mom, or both trials were in Mom, because otherwise we'd be going 20 minutes of trial, then take a 20-minute break, 20 minutes of trial, take a 20 minutes of break, and that just simply does not work. So we had to have an interpreter ready to switch off to keep the trial going. Another area where we're way down, actually just about depleted, is our judge pro tem budget, and that's because of several reasons. Number one, this county, we have, I think we're the leading, as far as courts of limited jurisdiction, we are the leading calendar as far as restarting our jury trials. We've been having jury trials, and we've had 34, I believe, by the end of August. At least that's what I was told when we did a count. Unfortunately, it's not possible to have 34 jury trials all during trial week. And the court has to give a lot of deference to when parties are ready to go to trial, because they have an obligation to protect people's right to a fair trial. And as a result, we've had numerous cases go outside of our regular trial week, and we've had no choice in the matter. As a result, we've had to have a lot more doubling up the courts, because if I'm doing a trial, someone needs to cover the rest of the calendars, which is full time. And so Judge Greer, Judge Pomeroy, and to a lesser degree, Judge Buzzard, have been handling the other court case when we've had trials. And we've had several months, we have quite a few trials in a given month. September, we haven't had any trials, but it's really is an outlier. We've also had to expand our calendar a little bit, because we're just getting to the point where it's not possible to have one judge cover the entire calendars. And it was a problem before I arrived here. I recall well the days here for a 9 o'clock pretrial and not having it called until even start that calendar till probably 11, because we had to do all sorts of calendars beforehand, including warrant quashes and things along those lines. We've made great strides in trying to, and I'm not criticizing my predecessor in any way, shape, or form. She did the best she could with what she had, but the situation is we've had to expand the number of times we're using pro tems, and it's also gone to what has caused a drain, although we've done that in the past and we weren't in quite the shape we are now. I think most of the changes up through now has been the fact that a lot of trials, and a lot of those trials have not been falling on trial week. So as a result, pro tem budget is just about depleted. We spent over 99.9% of it, and we currently have $23.75 left. I will point out that I think I've taken, as far as vacation time, maybe 3 days off this week or this month. This week would be a whole different story. But this month, the judge is supposed to get 30 days, and that's been factored in. But this particular year, we're down to 23 hours and 23 $4.75 without me taking more than 3 days off. And one of those days was to have the fun of going in. It's actually sick leave. I took a day off as a precaution when I got my second COVID shot to, in case I got sick. It was a lot easier to plan in advance to have somebody there than have to try to call somebody in if I did get sick and couldn't come in. And there are some people, it didn't happen to me, but there are some people that got pretty sick on their second shots and couldn't come in. So those are two areas where things are critical, in my opinion. Move on. Dispute resolution, we're at 85.6%, but I think when things roll over, the way it works is we instituted to pay for the dispute resolution, putting a surcharge on all of our general civil filings. At the same time, we require all small claims people to go through the dispute resolution center for mediation before they get a trial date. It's optional for all the other civil cases, but so far no one has use of those services, and that's kept things pretty much afloat. But this year we are showing behind all. I think hopefully it will catch up to itself by the end of the year, because what we're doing, and Patsy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are sending off, those fees are basically being paid out. The equivalent of those fees are being paid out each year or each month to the Dispute Resolution Center to pay for their services. It has been very valuable because it's cut down the need of small claims trials, and it's not so much, gee, I get to get out of work, so it's really great. I'll do them, but in all too many of those cases that were tried beforehand, there were no issues. I mean, it was pretty clear cases that should never have gone to trial. People didn't have a good appreciation of what their claims were, whether or how to present their claims, and justice wasn't done. And dispute resolution has really been helpful in making that happen. So but that is an area where we're at 85.6%. Witness fee, not sure where we are. My understanding is witness fees, we've actually expended well over what were allotted, 143.9%. And why? Because we've had a lot of jury trials this year. And there's not a whole lot, again, the court can really do about it, except I could, I guess, do what a lot of other courts are doing and say we're still going to say stand down. But there's cases, at least what I'm being told, where there's 4,000 cases of trials that someday, one way or the other, are going to have to be resolved. This county, we've chosen to go forward, and we've done a very good job of it. We've made good use of Building 10. It's a good facility. Thank you very much. But the situation is we don't have the backlogs a lot of other counties have, and that's because we figured out ways to safely conduct our jury trials and move those trials on to some type of resolution. It's also had the effect that when people realize that, hey, their case is going to go to trial, they get the cases case resolved. So it's not like we're still backing up cases as much as a lot of the cases are changes of plea, people getting serious about negotiating them on both sides to instead of just figuring that you can just kick the can down the road. And so we don't have the same type of problems that a lot of other counties, unfortunately, still have, based on what limited amount of effort I made into researching it. But we have been asking around, and most counties at best are just getting started on doing their trials or getting started and shutting down again. We have stood down for September, not that it meant anything, because of the fact that all the trials went off for this month anyway, so it didn't really matter. But we did stand down. If any cases had been confirmed, we would have set them over. But for the most part, we have been our trials, and also resulted in the witness fee cost. And that's something that, frankly, there's really no way to accurately determine. I don't get to say, well, we've had too many trials, you go do something else or whatever. I don't get to do that. We've done what we can to keep things going and keep the courts functioning during this pandemic, and we're going to continue to do so. But it has had some budget ramifications.
So, Your Honor, there's two questions that I have. One would be, where we sitting on the budget as a whole? Number one, are there any other line items that are coming in less than what was budgeted for?
I'm not aware of any line items that are really coming significantly less. But I'll defer to Patsy because I just love putting her on the spot. I'm just that kind of a person. Sorry, Patsy.
It's okay.
Hi, Patsy. What do we got there for our overall and where we should be for our marking point? And what does it look like on the other line items?
As far as payroll and benefits, my understanding is I can only use that bottom line. So therefore the pro tem monies are my concern since I only have $25 left in there.
Now, Patsy, you can move over $15,000 and anything above $15,000, you can still do a request from the commission to move it over. Just so you know,
Okay.
Each department has the leeway of 15,000.
Okay. I was unaware of that, so that I can look at that. I don't know that there are very many lines at all that will have that kind of money to move over at this point.
Okay.
We are for district court, we are at 72.4% of our budget. And my understanding, we should be at 70.8 now at this point. I have also, just so you know, been touching base with Jennifer Byerly. So, and she just recommended that I just make you guys aware of where we're at with it. As far as district court and probation bottom line, we're at 71% for the two departments. To be honest, when I submit my budget, I calculate what my expenses are going to be, and that's what I put in my budget. I don't pad it. Our trials have really impacted our witness fees. That's one of the big ones, and the pro tem line having to separate out the calendars and have more than one calendar running at a given time, plus the fact that we've had the 34 jury trials, in which I would say all but maybe a handful of them have been outside of trial week. So I have to bring a pro tem in to cover our regular calendars during the trial so that the judge can do the trial, pro tem can do our regular calendar, so that we're not setting those things out and losing jurisdiction over those as well.
So for the most part, this is informational until our budget time, of which time Jennifer will include what she thinks is necessary at that time.
Correct.
Jennifer?
I have submitted to Jennifer, and there she is. I have submitted to Jennifer a budget change request, highlighting the items that that we included in our briefing packet, or laid out in the briefing. The judge pro tem, the interpreter services, dispute resolution, and witness fees. And dispute resolution is revenue-based. And as of the report I printed this morning, we have taken in $10,980 in dispute resolution. The expenditures that have gone out also include the money that came in December of last year. So that's why we're at $12,235, because we had that $1,255, pardon me, for December revenues that went out in our 2021 budget.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Jennifer, do you have something you wanted to add?
I just wanted to add that there's $12,500 in computer purchases that were paid for by IT originally. And we want to code correct that into district court, and they don't have the budget for that. And that was not included in their briefing this morning. So just wanted to make you aware of that as well. But that will be a budget amendment ask.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just real quick, Jennifer, process-wise, when do you anticipate that coming back in front of us for supplemental?
So our next supplemental was scheduled for December 14th, but on our new schedule, that's not a briefing or a meeting date. So I'm thinking the 7th, December 7th will work for the budget amendment as far as my timeline, and it'll be briefed to you commissioners beginning of November, I believe.
And they will have the capacity to up until that time? You think so?
Yeah, I think they should be okay, but when it gets to December, they're going to need that money. Yes.
There is one thing I would like to interject into this too, because we have had difficulties getting cases done on trial week this year. So probably the second half of the year. But one of the reasons is, which I just want you to be aware of, I like to refer to it as a local attorney who had the temerity to do his job. As one who litigated a case called State versus Galinas, which ended the court's ability to issue bench warrants for people who failed to appear, except really for arraignment trials and any other case where the court can make specific findings in that particular case, that their actual presence was necessary, as long as they appeared through counsel. And so we've had a lot of cases where people would not show up, and we just had to go on to the next day. And so what we did was we changed our calendaring so we don't wind up with having to have jurors waiting on the off chance somebody shows up. So that's we had to make some changes because initially that calendar was too close to trial week. For the attorneys were complaining they didn't have time to prepare for people who said they're ready to go. So we changed that now, but that's one of the reasons why we haven't had every case on trial week. But the other reason is we've had far too many trials to take care of them all on trial week. Can handle about 2 trials per week during trial week, which means that's 2 trials a month. And we've had, we're on average at this point, I believe, I think it's about a little more than 4 trials per month. And that makes a difference, particularly when those trials are averaging 2 to 3 days.
Thank you.
We've been dealing with that too.
Thank you. Commissioner Trask, did you have any questions?
Yeah, it sounds like some of these, the reasons that you have higher expenses too could be because of COVID. So I'm wondering, either Jennifer or Frank, maybe you could answer this. Can some of these costs be covered by ARPA monies?
I don't see them not.
Yeah, I know that.
Definitely look at that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what section it talks about the court fees or court costs. So we might want to just take a look at that one and see if this does qualify, because I'm pretty sure that some of it could be, but we just narrow it down.
I see you came on camera. Did you have something you wanted to
add? Yeah, let me just double check. There's 194,000 from the Office of the Courts earmarked for district court to be used for for Blake decisions. So there's some funding from there, and definitely under ARPA, there would be funding available to mitigate COVID-related costs for the courts.
My concern would be to cover the cost of Blake funding, I think, is a deal with the change in the Supreme Court's decision in that case, not necessarily COVID.
Right, I would look more towards the ARPA monies. I'd want to further define, take a look at some of the expenses, the interpreter costs and things like that. They might be covered. So if we could maybe just take a look at those.
Yep, will do. How much did we say there was, Patsy? Roughly?
In the that I've can't even talk, that I've asked for.
For everything, Frank, or just the interpreter ones? What was your question?
Just the interpreter.
The interpreter, I was asking to increase the budget by 12,000.
Okay, I'll take a look into that.
Okay, anything further for the judge? All right, thank you guys very much. We appreciate you coming in and meeting with us today.
Thank you.
Have a great one. Commissioners, is there any commissioner discussion that we didn't cover earlier that we didn't have any of?
You don't want to talk about bugs?
Yeah, those kind of bugs. I will entertain a motion.
Sure, move we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned. See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay.